Well, hello guys. Welcome once again to another episode of Trucking Business in a Box. My name is Toby Obi, and today we're going to discuss one of the topics that has really been on my mind lately to share with you guys. Why do most trucking businesses fail? Or better yet, the reasons why most trucking businesses fail. Now, guys, we're just gonna have this as a simple conversation, okay? Sit back, relax, and get to learn. I've been in the trucking industry now for about 12 years. And to be honest with you, starting out in the trucking business is not as easy as most people think that it is. Yes, you get to make a lot of money, or let me put it this way, you get to see a lot of money come into your hands, but at the end of the day, what really matters is how much of that money do you get to keep? Okay? I made a lot of mistakes, and I'm trying to help a lot of people out there not to make the same mistakes that I made. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that most trucking companies make, which is why they fail, is they have lack of funds. Okay, what do I mean by lack of funds? There's this big misconception out there that when you want to start a trucking company, you can just take the little money you have in your bank account. It could be $2,000 or $5,000 or maybe even $10,000 and just, bootstrap, yourself and just start, going, do what everybody else is doing. Go rent you a enterprise truck or a budget truck or Penske truck. Once you make the first two payments, everything is going to be a sweet deal from there. That's what most people think starting out, especially in this past couple of years with the influx of the box trucks into the industry. That's the biggest misconception. There's this whole bunch of people thinking or believing the hype that you can just start with $5,000 or $10,000, and that is the biggest mistake that anybody can make starting out in the trucking industry, is by thinking that you can just get started with as little money as possible. Okay, now what I would advise everyone to do is, before you even start the trucking business, you have to first of all do a little piece of calculation. Try to figure out exactly how much money do I need to survive on a monthly basis. I'm talking about you yourself, your family. How much do you guys need? How much do you spend every month in rents, to pay the bills, the car notes, the credit card bills, all that stuff? Write that number down, okay? Figure out, if I'm gonna need $5,000 every month to cover all my bills and I'm good with it, then you need to have 6 months worth of that amount saved and put aside. That's separate money that you should not touch, okay? 6 months of whatever that amount is. Now, you also need to write out a different amount of money. This is the operation amount for your trucking business. So in other words, you want to figure out how much money is it gonna cost me to run my trucking business on a day-to-day basis. It could include the number of trucks you have, the number of drivers you have. Let's say you started out with just one truck, or maybe you're the driver of that one truck. The cost of the truck to maintain it, cost of insurance, cost of fuel, cost of tolls. So many things you have to factor into the cost of your operation, and then you want to figure out how much is this going to cost me or run me on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. Okay. Now, there are some expenses you're going to have to make daily, like buying fuel, and there are some expenses you're going to have to make monthly, like your monthly checkups and stuff for your truck. Okay, so when you add all that together, guys, you come up with a number. Now, this is your operational cost. This is your operational running amount. That's the number that you need to set apart 3 months worth of that amount. So let's say you come up with $10,000. I'm just giving you an example, guys. If you come up with $10,000, you need to come up with 3 months of that amount, which is $30,000, and set it aside. Okay, so we're talking about $5,000 for your personal expenses to take care of you and your family and your bills for 6 months. That's about $30,000. Okay, so we have two sets of $30,000, one for your trucking business and one for your personal expense, 60K, okay? This is money you need to set aside, okay? That means that if your trucking company goes up or down, whatever happens, you have enough money to weather the storm, okay? I don't care if you start a trucking company today and you start making money the next day. That's not the point, guys. Whatever money you make in your new trucking company, technically, really, that's not profit, okay? And you get to understand once you start the trucking company itself. Now, this amount of money that you just put aside is what I call your cushion funds. Cushion funds means if something goes wrong, you have something to fall back on, okay? It doesn't mean the money that you're going to actually take to start the business, okay? That's a whole different amount of money right there. So I've seen this so many times, people start business with like $5,000, $10,000, and 2 months down the road, some of them don't even make it up to 2 months down the road. They just lose everything because one, they didn't have enough money set aside to weather the storm, to factor in every single possible scenario of what can happen and how it can, get them to fail in the trucking business. So that's number one. Number two, compliance, okay? Compliance is the second biggest reason why many trucking companies fail. Now, why do I say that? As much as people think that, they can get away with anything, the system is going to catch up with you. And I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how sleek you are. I don't care how you try to evade the system. Everything is connected, interconnected, okay? So what do I mean by compliance? You have to know the rules and the regulations that's set out there that's governing all the truckers, all the trucking bodies. You need to get familiarized with all this stuff. If you are going into a business, you want to know all the rules that governs that business. You want to know if you have the proper licenses for carrying what kind of freight. You want to know, do you have the right equipment? Do you have the right license for that equipment? Do you have the right driver in the truck? Is your driver going over the hours of service? Is your truck too overweight? Are you carrying a hazmat load? There are so many aspects of compliance that, there are books and booklets about compliance, and you cannot just start a trucking company not knowing any single aspect of compliance and expect not to fail. All it's gonna take is one citation at a trucking station and they're gonna shut you down. Sometimes it could be for a very minor offense. Sometimes it could be shutting you down for good. Okay, so I implore anybody who wants to start a trucking business to really sit down and figure out the compliance aspect of it. Now, compliance is a very big deal. Now, I don't want to take up too much of your time talking about compliance in this one video, but I promise you, we can go over compliance in a totally separate video by itself, okay? Number three, human resource. Now, what do I mean by that? A lot of times, when we talk about trucking business, me in particular, I don't believe in the model where you have to be in the truck yourself to drive, okay? Don't get me wrong. If you want to start, trucking as the driver for that truck, that is fine and great, okay? I implore you to do that. I started driving a truck myself as a driver. Now, as much money as you can make driving that truck by yourself, you are only one person, okay? And there's gonna come a time when you're gonna realize that no matter how much money you make, that money can only go so far because you're just one person. Now, if you can find someone else who can, duplicate what you're doing, basically you hiring a driver, you can be able to make more money, right? You can get a second truck and double the income, okay? It comes with a fee, of course, you have to pay the driver. Now, that's the biggest problem right there. Number one is finding the driver, and number two is finding the right driver, okay? And number three is being able to retain that driver over a long period of time. because sometimes we're so eager to find drivers that we end up making mistakes and finding the bad set of drivers. And then these drivers, some of them, they just don't give a damn, excuse my French, about what they're doing. They just go out there, do whatever they want to do, and just leave. They can literally jump on the next bandwagon with whoever wants to pay them more money than what you're paying them, and they leave you high and dry. Okay. Now, some drivers, on the other hand, they really want to work with you. Okay. But then it also comes down to how much you are paying them, if you're really treating them well, if they feel like they're welcome in your company, or if they see that, they're really doing over and beyond what they're supposed to do, but you're not really reciprocating the compensation to them. If you're treating them like less than what they're supposed to make, they have every reason and every right to go work for the next man, probably your competition, right? So hiring the right driver is one biggest key to running a successful business. Now, not hiring the right driver can also cause your company to fail, okay? And finding a way to retain good drivers is a way that you can also help to succeed in, your trucking business, okay? So that's number 3. Number 4 is negligence, okay? Negligence is a very big thing, because a lot of times I've come to find out that when people are seeing money coming in the trucking industry, they just feel like, oh, it's gonna be just like that forever. It's not, okay? It's only gonna take just one little mistake by somebody, and before you know it, it's a triple down effect, okay? All it takes is for one of your guys to, smoke a J in the truck and get pulled over by the cops, and before you know it, it's gonna affect your insurance rates. The insurance company might not want to renew your insurance, and just like that, you might run into issues with getting your MC number deactivated. So think about something that's simple, right? The guy just smoked a J in the truck, and it's like, oh, there's no big deal about it, but something like that can impact your business in a big way. That's negligence. Or something like, you see the tires on your truck getting bald, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna fix it at the end of the month, and it's just the first of the month, right? That's negligence too, because guess what? That tire might blow out, and not only could it cause damage to the truck, but also to another car that's right next to it, which could be a big claim, and that claim is gonna end up falling back on your company, okay? So there are very little situations that you can really take care of, and when you think about it, you're like, should I do this? Should I not? Once you start asking yourself, should you, just go ahead and get it taken care of, okay? Like some people will be driving around with trucks with no proper signage on their door, indicating their MC number or their DOT numbers. And I'm like, what does it really take for you to go make a decent sign and put on your door? You could get a big fine for that, right? So little things like that, guys, little things like that can really cost you your business. When you don't think about it, or when you think it's such a little thing, you're being so negligent about it. That's how you can lose your business in trucking, okay? Now, number 5 is a lack of training and guidance. A lot of people jump into the trucking industry because they feel like there's a lot of money in trucking, right? Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of money in trucking, but they fail to go through the proper training. They fail to go through the proper guidance that they need before they even get started. Now, what do I mean by that? You cannot go through a surgery if the surgeon doesn't have his licenses or has been trained to operate on you, right? You wouldn't even feel comfortable laying on that bed if that surgeon doesn't have the training to operate on you. Same thing with a dentist, So why does anybody think that they can just wake up one day, say, oh, you know what? I have the money to start a trucking business, and I'm gonna just go get me a truck, and I'm gonna be successful doing it, and I don't have no training at all whatsoever, That's just the number one absolute way to fail, okay? You need some kind of training. You need to train yourself in the trucking language, in the trucking business, you know, it's one thing to be a truck driver, don't get me wrong. It's another thing to understand how to run a trucking business. Those are two totally separate things, okay? Running a trucking business does not mean you're a truck driver. There are people who have trucking businesses and they have never sat one day in a truck, okay? And likewise, there are people who have been driving trucks all their lives, but they don't even know how to run a business. So there are two different things, okay? When you have a trucking business, you have to be able to understand how to take one aspect of trucking, which is the truck driver's life, and merge it with a business administration. And in today's world, everything is being run on the internet. You also have to understand how the internet world and e-commerce helps your trucking business as well. A lot of truckers are still stuck in the olden time and the olden days where they have to do everything manually. You know, paperwork has to be done manually. Invoices have to be sent by mail. You know, stuff like that has changed. There's a lot of stuff, you know, innovative stuff that's going on right now. Things are literally being done by apps. You know, apps are tracking loads, apps are tracking your drivers. You know, you can get to sign contracts on your phone. You know, these are things that you need to do and understand if you're trying to get in the trucking industry and succeed, okay? So the lack of training is one reason why a lot of trucking companies fail, a lot of trucking businesses fail, okay? Number 6, the lack of research, okay? Lack of research is different from lack of training. Now, training is when you're trying to figure out how to get started and what it's gonna take for you to succeed. You know, you basically have to learn the ins and outs of a trucking company, the ins and outs of the trucking business. You know, you kind of merge the two together, okay? But the research itself is different because the research is where you have to learn, where am I gonna get my freight from, okay? How much is this freight gonna cost me to run? What is the operational cost that is gonna take for me to run this freight on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? How many hours, how many miles am I gonna put on my truck every day, every week, every month? All this is research. How many shippers are around me? How do I get into relationship with the shippers and eliminate the middleman as much as possible? How far can I take my truck on one load without having a deadhead so many hours back home? All this is research. You know, how much money can I make with the available freight in my area? Where do I live? Who is around me? Who are the shippers around me? Things like that. This is research that you have to do in order to be successful in trucking. So what happens most times is that people see a lot of people jumping into trucking and they don't do their research. They just go by, oh, my cousin has a, you know, he has a trucking company and I'm just gonna do what he's doing. They go get a truck from Enterprise, paying X amount of dollars every week or every month, already bleeding money. And now they want to start, you know, feeding on whatever the load board dumps on them, okay? Not knowing absolutely how to do the research on getting work that could be right next to them in their backyard. So, you know, this whole list that I'm giving you guys right now, there is no one particular item that has a precedence over the other. But by the time you look at each one of them individually, which maybe I'm gonna make a video on each topic individually later. I'm just making this one video now, you know, together so that you guys can understand the full picture of what it takes for a trucking company to succeed. You know, but when I break all these things down in different videos, you can understand that doing your research is one of the key parts of you being successful in the trucking industry. And nobody taught me about this when I was starting, okay? There are so many companies and so many shippers, distributors who literally have warehouses around you, okay? I did a training with a few of my students a while back where I showed them how you can basically tap into this resource by finding these shippers in your area. And it's really simple. It's a no-brainer, okay? And the reason why most people fail in trucking is because they're constantly dependent on load boards, okay? Yeah, like load boards is their next best friend or their next best thing. If you know how to build a relationship, how to find shippers, direct shippers, and how to build relationships with them, you will succeed and go far in your trucking business. You'll only need a load board when you're trying to find a load to come back home. Okay. Number 7, not having a business plan. Okay. What do I mean by that? Again, you have $5,000 or $10,000. You take that money, you go get your truck. You're like, hey, well, that wouldn't even buy you a truck. That's just to rent a truck anyway. You say, hey, I'm going to start a trucking company. You don't have a plan whatsoever. You don't know how long you're going to stay in the business. What's your exit strategy? How much am I going to be making every week? How much am I going to be making every month? How much do I need to bring home every week in order for me to sustain the kind of lifestyle that I have? If I have a wife and 3 kids, I have my needs for my wife and 3 kids is going to be different from someone who doesn't have a wife and 3 kids, or someone who just has a girlfriend, or it could be someone who has a girlfriend with expensive taste, So people are different, okay? The place where you live is different. The demographics are different, okay? Some people need to take home $10,000 every month for their wives or their girlfriends to be happy. Some people need to take home $4,000 every month. It all depends. Now, whichever scenario that you find yourself in, you want to understand, how do I get to the finish line? What kind of freight do I have to pull every single day, every week, to get to the finish line? How far out do I have to go? Do I have to stay home? Do I have to be regional? Do I have to go over the road? These are questions you have to ask yourself in your business plan. How do I get the funding that I need to start my trucking business the right way? Not just to bootstrap yourself along the way and figure out, okay, everything else is going to fall into place. No, it will not. Okay? You're going to find yourself closing in as little time as possible. Now, the right business plan will guarantee that when things are getting tough, you can always go back to your plan and you look at it and you tell yourself, okay, this is where I want to be. I'm not quite there yet, so maybe I can make some changes and tweak some things in the process, okay? You need a proper business plan to be successful in trucking. With your business plan, you can tell yourself how you can grow over the next year, over the next 2 years, over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years, if your vision spans out that long. A lot of people don't even have a vision for their trucking company for the next 5 years. And that is why they're shutting down so fast, because they don't know how to recruit the right drivers to grow their business. They don't know how to corner the right clients and customers to keep them rolling year round. You need a business plan. Number 8, insurance problems. Okay. Now, this is one of the biggest ones out there, guys, because a lot of times people come into the trucking industry, they don't even know 1/3 or 1/10 of the problems they're going to have with the insurance companies. The insurance company is going to be your biggest nightmare, guys. I mean, seriously, believe me. Nobody talks about insurance, the insurance companies when they're selling you these big pipe dreams about starting a trucking company. Everybody talks about how sweet it is to start a trucking company, how much money you're going to make. You pull a load from here to there, you make $1,000, you make $2,000, but nobody's going to tell you how much money it's going to cost you to get your truck insured or to have insurance, to maintain the right insurances for your business, okay? And once you start to figure out that the insurance companies are out there to get you, and believe me, they are going to get you, the monies that they charge is not cheap, okay? Stop trying to think you can get such a cheap insurance like $500 a month for one truck. That's a big lie, okay? That's not going to happen, okay? So the minute you start understanding and realizing that in trucking, you have a big a part to play by paying insurance company all this money, right? For them to have you, literally, they're the ones that keep you in business, because the minute your insurance shuts down, there goes your MC right behind it. So you say, okay, I'm gonna try to be sneaky around it. I'm gonna just insure one truck, and then I'm gonna run three other trucks not insured, and I'm gonna use insurance on this truck to run my MC. Well, guess what? Every time that the other trucks get pulled over at a weigh station or wherever else they get pulled over, that's a violation technically that your insurance company can use against you when it comes time for you to renew your insurance. They could either drop you or your rates will definitely go up. And then you have the issue with claims. A claim could be a cargo claim, it could be an accidents claim, it could be any other type of claim. Now, once you have a claim on your insurance, definitely best believe me, it's going to affect you when it comes time for you to renew your insurance. So insurance companies are one of the top reasons why trucking businesses fail. Okay, now I'm going to leave you guys with the one last reason here why trucking businesses fail. And believe me, this is not the last of it. In general, this is just the last for this video because we're almost at the 30-minute mark. This is not building enough relationships, okay? What do I mean by that? In trucking, you cannot make yourself successful just being a one-man show or a one-man operation. It's not gonna happen that way. You're gonna need people to put in place to help your operation go smoothly, okay? You're gonna need drivers. You have to build a relationship with your drivers, professional, good drivers. You're gonna need brokers. Starting out, you might not have enough customers in your database to get your loads from. So that's where the brokers come in. You don't wanna get shitty brokers. You wanna have good brokers, okay? You also are gonna need something like a factoring company, a company that's gonna be able to pay you right on the spot once you deliver your freight, once you deliver your load. You're gonna need that as well, okay? You wanna build a relationship with a good factoring company. You want to build a relationship with an ELD company, because your drivers are going to use ELDs to monitor their hours of service. So you want a good ELD company to use for that. In case there are shitty ELDs out there, okay? You want to build a relationship with a bank, with a credit union, because guess what? When things go really tight, you might want to reach out to the bank real quick to get a quick line of credit or a credit card to fund your operations, okay? You need a relationship with a good bank or credit union for that. You want to build a relationship with your local rental truck place. It could be Penske or Ryder or Enterprise. One of your trucks is going to break down at some point. You need a relationship with one of those companies to help save you or bail you out by giving you a truck, for a short-term rental so that your operation can keep going on, okay? You're gonna need to build a relationship with a local mechanic, guys. This is one of the biggest relationships you're gonna need, is a local mechanic who understands trucks and who understands your truck. It's one thing to understand trucks, but they might not understand your truck, okay? So having all these relationships in place is one thing that will really help boost your company and propel you to success. Without having these relationships in place, guess what, guys? You're bound to fail as a trucking company or as a trucking business. And one of the biggest relationships you can have or invest in is by investing in the program that we have set up, which is the Trucking Business in a Box. It's 100% done for you program where we get to do all the work for you. And trust me, when I say all the work, I mean, we go through every single aspect of paperwork out there that has to be filed. We touch every single thing that you're gonna need. All the stuff I just mentioned on this list in this video, from your funding, to your compliance, to your human resource, to having a business plan, to the insurance, we put together all that for you, okay, in our Trucking Business in a Box program package. And when we give it to you, you have everything you need from day one, starting out with your trucking business. We don't just set you up with a business and you don't know what's going on. No, we put everything together from you. We lay down, we'll build a foundation. And when you hand over those keys to you guys, best believe it, you are 100% in a position to run your trucking business. So if you are thinking of starting a trucking business, what I really advice that you do is click on the link below to go talk to one of our team members, schedule a business consultation with us so that we can get you started in the trucking business today. My name is Toby Yobi. See you on the next video.